Why, hi there. It's me. It's Uncle Ron, and I'm joined by Mike in a truck who is doing that's a hockey set behind you, isn't it?
Yes, this is this is a control room from the '90s where I was actually technical directing, and this is actually the Stanley Cup playoffs. I want to say it might have been the year that the Red Wings beat the Flyers in a four-game sweep. I could be wrong.
Okay.
It could also have been the Avalanche. I can't remember.
Those are intense. Those
Oh,
Red Wings
I,
as things they
one
are
memory,
intense.
one memory I got to share, Ron. I got to share it.
Sure.
It was Red Wings and Avalanche, and it was in this control room, and we're putting the game on the air, and it's the beginning of the game. The ref drops the puck. The two centers go at it immediately. Then the wings go at it. Then the defensive men skate in. They go at it. We're all just like losing the control. Like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And then the two goalies, they're going like this to one another. Come on, come
I
on.
mean, Juan Osgood, wouldn't
I think so.
it?
Patrick Juan Oscar, and
Yeah,
it just we were just we forget the hockey game. That was a game right there. We were all just like just blown away. I mean, just dropped the puck and there was no communication. Everybody just started swinging.
that's crazy. Now, were you in Bristol or are you actually in the truck at the
No,
arena?
I was in Bristol. This image is from a control room that was called PCR 5. This
Okay.
stands for Production Control Room 5, and it was nicknamed the Land of Misfit Toys. A nod to the Island of Misfit Toys from
Yes.
Rudolph. But that was the nickname, and there was actually a sign outside the door. And I was like, what is this? And they said, because it was for ESPN2, and they were growing so fast, so big,
Yeah.
so fast. It's probably part of the reason I got the job was because they were just hiring to try to keep up. And uh, the equipment in here was I'm going to talk technobabble, but
Yep.
uh, the switcher we used was an editing switcher. It was a Grass Valley 250. We had 1 inch reel to reel tapes. We had beta cassettes, and we had 1 inch reel to reels. Our still store, which is the image, there's a like an old DOS PC where my hand's kind of pointing right there.
Right.
It was called the Pinnacle Lightning still store, and we had. And I know I'm talking technobabble, but our DVE, most DVEs, which is digital video effects, where like images we can like fly stuff on and stuff like that. Normally, you have a unit that has two channels. Well, we had two units, each with one channel, and but you're not supposed to do it that way. So I would sometimes, if I was going to do, I hit two buttons at the same time versus one to and design an effect between the two. Our audio board was out of two trucks, and they were pieced together from the parts that worked between the two audio boards from the two trucks to make one functioning board. And they were sitting on top of patch bays, which is like it's a box that's got a bunch of holes in it, and you patch in where you want your sources to go. So it was thrown together, laughable. I mean, the little monitors above my head to the left, those are like little black and white monitors about
Right.
that big. Um, Everything was just thrown together, so that's where the nickname Land of Misfit Toys came from. And it was super crowded, and it was just it was it was an experience. And when I was there for a long time, and then I got promoted and I got to more realistic control rooms, but I
Right.
just missed. There was just something about that was just so fun and laughable, and we did ridiculously complicated productions out of something that shouldn't have been used.
So all the hand-me-downs from when they opened in '79, essentially?
Well, I don't want to say I can't answer that. Well, the 250 switcher didn't exist in '79.
Okay.
Well, here's a trivia question. You know the original Star Wars movie, the original
Yes.
one from 1977.
Yeah.
All right, um, the scene where they blow up the planet.
Yep.
Okay, they got the guys working and all that. You see somebody take their hand and they go like this with a bar. Okay, that was a Grass Valley 1200 switcher. Or pardon me, a 1600. It was a Grass Valley 1600 switcher. That was the workhorse in the 70s. And one of the directors at ESPN told me that when he saw the movie in the theater, when that scene came on, he busted out laughing because he knew what everybody looked at. Well, what? No, no one's going to know that, but he saw and he busted. That's a Grass Valley
I love it.
1600 switcher.
I love it.
So, but we digress.
We digress. So we're going to show off Family Football Plus,
Uh,
which is your
Thank you for
game.
that. Yes, yes.
And we apparently, and I forgot that we did this with the original Family Football, did the Super Bowl preview between Kansas City and San Francisco,
And I got it wrong.
and got it wrong.
We had San
And
Francisco winning.
that's right. And
Almost.
so tonight we're gonna do two teams from 2023, but we're gonna do something essentially 1960 style and do a playoff bowl between the runners-up,
Ooh,
the
wow.
Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions, in a game that isn't worth a bucket of warm spit. But so talk about how you came up with the design and what's different with this and all that.
Sure. If you're familiar with Family Football, it's one download of every team from 1950 to last season, and I will
Mm-hmm.
build the new season when the regular season's over. Uh, it's very simple. It's one or two players, and you're using actual data. Hello there. You're using actual data from ProFootballReference.com.
Mm-hmm.
I incorporate the actual statistics into the dice roll, and there is what's called an SRS rating that was invented by someone at Pro Football Reference, and they made a formula where they can give you a rating for the overall team, their
Mm-hmm.
offensive squad and their defensive squad, based on points for, points against, and strength of schedule. So I use that rating system as a rating system for all the teams. So what you're doing is you're rolling dice drive by drive, and I made it very simple. You see who has the advantage on your first roll. The second roll is, did you score or not?
Right.
Okay, so it's very simple. It's very quick. You're done in about 15 minutes once you understand the rules. Family Football Plus is built off of that with a couple changes. First of all, it took me up until the other day. I've put in players. So when you score, you roll, how did you score? Run or pass, and who scored? So you can actually write down, okay, it was a rushing touchdown.
There you go. Here's one of your here's Baltimore, as a matter of fact.
Okay, this is Baltimore from last year. And if you're familiar with Family Football, you see on the bottom, you should be familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need for Baltimore if you're playing the original game.
Mm-hmm.
The plus game, the whole section up top, anybody who scored, whether it's the place kicker, running, passing, an interception return, a punt return, a kickoff return, or a fumble return for a touchdown. Anybody that scored on that team is listed here, and they have a dice roll percentage. So that's added. You can tell who scored.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I've added rare plays. And there are safeties. And I was just telling Ron, here's how the safety works. If you're familiar with the original game, if you do the SRS advantage roll and everything comes up a 6, so 4 6s, you stop what you're doing. That's a safety. When it comes to the other rare plays, it used to be, well, with the original game, 63 and 64 is a fumble,
Mm-hmm.
65 and 66 is an interception. Now, anything that's a 60 is a rare play possibility. So the 63, 64 I mentioned before, if you roll that, it's a fumble. If you roll a 64, it is a fumble, but you now have checks. Did you return it for a touchdown? The same with an interception. If you roll a 66, it is an interception, but it could be a pick six, provided it happened in real life.
So in Detroit's case here, with Brian Branch would have had the pick six if you rolled a 66.
Well, here's how this works, though.
Okay.
If you roll the 66, you check to see if your team actually did an interception return for a touchdown. And in this case with Detroit, yes, there is actually one player who did. So Now, but did he return it for a touchdown? I have checks and balances on this. There isn't data throughout all the teams that they allowed an interception return for a touchdown. So what I have you do is you roll your dice again, and anything in the 60s, yes, he does return it. Otherwise, it's just an interception. The
Mm-hmm.
same with a fumble. 63 is still a fumble. 64 is a fumble, but it might be returned for a touchdown. And
Mm-hmm.
in the case of the chart you're seeing here, that can't happen with Detroit because they didn't do it in real life. So it's
Okay.
just a fumble. Now, kickoff and punt returns, same principle. That's a 61 for a punt return and a 62 for a kickoff return. For that to happen, the team with the possession has to have actually received the ball as a punt or a kick. So if you have the rare play that, okay, you rolled a punt return for a touchdown as a possibility, but your other team kicked off to you, stop right there. Didn't happen.
Okay.
What you need to have is, if that's the case, they did punt to you. Did you return the ball for? Did your anybody on your team return a punt? And in this case with Detroit, the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to check with the opposing team. Did they allow a punt return for a touchdown? So you would have to actually check on the other team, and it would be on the very bottom. There's just a
Yeah.
yes or a no.
So here, Baltimore punt return allowed. Yes. Kick return. No.
Correct. So if so you would have to look at Detroit if it's a punt return. If you could call up Detroit, well, let's go off the kick. No, Detroit can't do a punt or a kick return for a touchdown natively.
And
It
they can't
looks like,
allow one either.
and they can't allow one. Right. So you have to check both teams. If both teams are yes, then it happens. If just one of them is no, it doesn't happen. So there are checks and balances.
Okay.
Those are really
Super.
the basic changes.
Super. Okay. Plus, you have this handy dandy score sheet.
Yes, in the score sheet, if anybody, when you download the game, there are two score sheets. One is off of PDF, and the other is a spreadsheet. So if you want to type it in, you can just manually do it off of your spreadsheet if you're using your computer. So it comes in both flavors.
All right. So let's do this. You got the dice on the screen. So he's going to refer to the charts, and I'm going to roll the dice here. And so let's see who technically gets the ball first.
This is the coin flip.
Yes, this is the coin flip. So whoever gets the higher roll here.
Now, who's the visiting and who's the home team? Let's
Uh,
establish that.
let's make. I've got Baltimore on the bottom here, so let's make them home.
Okay, Baltimore's hosting the game, and if you're wondering, there is no home field advantage.
Right.
You do pick a home and away just for record keeping.
All right. Baltimore wins the toss.
So you can elect, and this is something else. There are three rules you want to. This is a one or two player game, but you need to
Right.
agree to. Is it the old rule of kick or receive, or kick, receive, or defer? I mean, for simple terms, Rob, we can just go with modern day rules.
Right.
If you like. The other thing is you want to decide, is there a 2-point conversion option, and is there overtime, and what kind of overtime? We'll just go with everything modern.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do, Ron? Kick, receive, defer?
Well, if we're playing super modern rules, then I would defer.
Okay. So that means you're going to kick to me. So my team has possession first, which is, I guess I'm Detroit.
You are
Am I
Detroit.
Okay. By the way, I looked up the SR ratings. That's something else you want to do. With each team on the colored sections, there is an overall team rating and a team rating for your offensive and defensive squad. The advanced way to play, you can just go with the overall team rating, and that team has the SR of dice advantage, which I'll explain in a moment. But you can also compare the offensive unit of one team versus a defensive unit, and the one that is higher has the SRS advantage when that's the possession. So if you've got a team with a great defense versus a team with a lackluster offense, the great team with the great defense has the better advantage when they're on defense. Whoever has the SRS advantage, what we're about to do, we're going to do what's called the SRS advantage roll. All we're doing is we're going to determine whose chart are we going off of. So whoever the way the advantage is, the 10 base dice automatically has one added to it. So if Ron rolled a 44, in reality it's a 54. He always would have the advantage. If he's got the SRS, he's always got a 10 higher than I do. Even if he rolls a 66, it's a 76. Okay, Ron.
All right.
So we roll for SRS advantage. Basically, who's doing better on this drive? So I guess I'm the top dice and you're the bottom.
So yeah. So we didn't have Honolulu blue here. So blue and that kind of metallic is silver.
Okay.
And surprisingly enough, the guy who did Ball Roller, who's no longer with us,
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry to hear that.
years ago,
Oh,
he was also the one that did Ball Stat and Ball Score. I don't know if you've ever used those or not.
no. Well, I'm gonna have to look that
James
up.
Haber, I believe. Yeah, and the family requested that no work to be done. So it's a very Windows 7 thing. But I love the Ball Roller, and he actually does have purple and black. So I'm going to pull a Gardner here and try to do colored dice for the teams. All right, Detroit gets the kick.
Okay, Detroit has possession. So if you want to roll the dice,
You can, yeah, there should be on the
oh,
screen.
okay. So they're both 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have the SRS advantage, therefore yours is a 25.
So we're going to read. So we're read off of Baltimore's defensive card here.
Right, and what we're looking at is Baltimore's on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So what Ron's checking is on the chart there is a defensive chart.
Here, let me show you this.
Okay. So it's going to be in the bottom right.
Right.
So Ron is going to roll where it says what you rolled. And what he rolls, these are the actual percentages that Baltimore allowed a touchdown, kicked a field goal, or forced a punt.
All right. So I'll leave it up here for long enough to do this. So
okay.
We're going to read
Ron's dice are on the bottom when he rolls. So that's the only one that matters. He's rolling. There's no SRS advantage.
So Baltimore rolled a 41. So it's a change of possession.
Right. So what that means is Detroit wasn't able to do anything. They're not in field goal range. They have to punt.
Okay. So do I roll again for no, Detroit can't allow a punt return for a touchdown, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Well, that's a rare play in the 60s, and that's not the case here. Did you want me to type this stuff?
I'll get it.
Okay.
You can read off the charts and I'll.
Okay. So now Detroit is punted.
Okay.
And Detroit, blanketly, we've already looked up. Detroit has SRS advantage, period. So, Ron, you have SRS advantage the whole game. So, if you want to roll,
13 for you and 34 for me.
Okay, so Baltimore wins the SRS advantage. So Ron goes back to the Baltimore chart, and he looks for
so I'll put that
the
up
offensive
again.
roll. Yeah.
And I roll a 23, which is touchdown.
Okay. Ron has scored a touchdown. Now, what he does is his offense is what scored the touchdown. My defense didn't allow it because we messed up. He just trucked down the field and scored. So on the top left, it's if the offense scored, how did they score? So Ron will roll his dice, and those numbers are the odds of him doing a run versus pass.
So I did a running touchdown because it was 11-35.
Okay.
And of course, it's on the wrong part of the screen. There we go.
So now Ron will roll under the rushing TD. He's going to roll to who scored. It's literally that simple.
55 is Justice Hill.
So Justice Hill, was that a wide receiver? By the way, I put in the positions too.
It says RB.
Oh, it's a running back. Okay.
Zay Flowers is the only wide receiver that can score a rushing touchdown,
which he did in real life. So for people who are fans of the 85 Bears, yes, there is a possibility that the Fridge can score a rushing touchdown. Just like in 2000, Jumbo Elliott made that catch on Monday Night Football. Technically, he could catch a touchdown pass if you play with the 2000 Jets. All right. Now, with the extra point, it's not necessarily automatically good.
Right.
There is a Baltimore has to kick the extra point. So on the chart,
They said it was automatic.
Mud, it's not my game. I'm not the programmer. I've been involved with the mods, and I host the mod site.
The game that we're doing now is Mike's game. This Family Football Plus.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yes, Mud. This is my name is Mud. This is a game I developed, and it took me about a year. So Ron needs to look on the colored area of his chart in the middle where it's purple. It says XP, and it has a range.
Okay.
So this is the actual percentage converted to two six-sided dice. So you just roll, and as long as it's within that range, it's good, and it
It's
is.
good. I don't need
It's
to change
good.
it.
Okay. So now Ron is kicking off to Detroit, and this is Detroit's possession. So we'll roll for the SRS, and actually Detroit is basically in charge of
Yep.
this drive. They're doing better than the defense. So we're going to go off of Detroit's chart
And I'll
on
show this. Yep.
offense.
We'll
Okay.
show that. And then that is what Mud met. That yes, this is my
Yes, I developed this game. It's a free download. So I'm the top dice. So Ron, roll that, and we'll look at my offense chart. A 31.
Yep. You got 3 points out of this.
Okay. What you can do is if you scroll up on the chart, XPs and field goals.
Okay.
There were two people who kicked them in real life. Now, this is something else also with kickers and quarterbacks. If you don't want to roll, if there's more than one person, you don't have to roll for who threw your touchdown pass or who kicked your field goal or extra point.
Mm-hmm.
The first person listed is always the real life starter. You could just say, I just want the starter. Okay. So I'm just going to go with the starter. If you want to write down that person's name, and the extra point is good.
So the field goal is good, and we'll stick with Patterson the rest of the game.
Okay. So Patterson kicked a field goal. If you want to put their name down, you don't have to. And so midway through the first quarter, it's 7-3 Baltimore. So Baltimore gets the ball now. This will be their possession as Detroit kicks off.
Yeah. So Baltimore wins the SRS roll.
So Baltimore wins the roll. So all you do is go to Baltimore's chart. They're on offense. Ron will roll his dice and see if he was able to do anything.
24. Touchdown.
Okay. It's a touchdown for Ron. So he goes up in the upper left, the offensive TD odds. You're going to run to see, did you score by a run or pass?
Run. And we actually have the dice on the right part of the screen. So another running touchdown for the Ravens.
Okay. Then you can roll, well, who ran it in? And these are the actual odds condensed.
Lamar Jackson.
It was a quarterback run. So Lamar Jackson just scored. And then don't forget the extra point.
Yeah.
So Ron's kicking the extra point.
It's good.
It's good.
All right.
So Lamar Jackson scrambles in, making the game 14-3 Baltimore.
Detroit is treating this like the old playoff bowl.
All right. So Baltimore's kicking off to Detroit. Let's see who's in control of this drive.
Baltimore. And this time I'm not going to show the chart, so you can just go off your charts there. So
okay, yeah. Why don't I just go off the charts and everyone?
So he's going to be reading off of Baltimore's defense.
Okay.
At this point.
Well, no. Oh, yes. That's right. You kicked off to me.
Right.
Okay, so go ahead and roll, Ron, and I'll tell you the result.
What did 36. Either way.
36 is Detroit can't do anything. They're out of field goal range. They have to punt.
And Baltimore can't return. So punt.
Well, that's only if it's a rare play in the 60s. You don't worry about that unless you roll in the 60s.
Okay.
So you didn't do that. So what we can do, Ron, is if there is a score and we need to look things, or I could just read it off the chart. I think we've established the chart.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
now now Detroit has punted to Baltimore. So Baltimore's on offense.
Detroit has punted more in this game than they did the entire season, right?
I don't know.
No, it was field goal. It was the lack of going for the field goals that killed them against San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I got what you were saying. I forgot about that.
All right. Baltimore wins the roll.
Okay, so Baltimore's on offense.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron will roll, and we're going off the Baltimore chart.
That's 61. Okay, so
Rare play possibility.
okay.
All right, if it's a 61, there's a possibility of a punt return for a touchdown by Baltimore. So here's how this works.
You mean for Detroit?
Excuse me, for Detroit. You punted. Did you punt to Detroit?
It's Baltimore's ball.
That means Detroit punted to you. That's how you have this possession.
Oh,
So
okay.
the first question is, did you get the ball by a punt? You did. So that one you've made. Now,
All right. So yes, it's a
Baltimore.
punt.
Okay, right. Baltimore, I'm looking on their chart. Did they
I've got it up
return
on
a
the
punt
screen.
for? Oh, okay. They did. Yeah, Tylan Wallace did return one for a touchdown.
Okay.
Now, the third check, did Detroit allow one? The answer is no.
No.
Therefore, stop. There is no punt return for a touchdown.
Okay.
What has happened is Baltimore drove out of field goal range. They have to punt.
Okay.
Okay. So nothing happened. Baltimore had to punt. You could consider it they had a great return, but that's it. So at the end of one, it's 14-3 Baltimore.
Okay. So Detroit gets it to start the second quarter.
Okay.
I remember we did this the last time. I never won an SRS roll, and apparently you're the one that's not going to win an SRS roll tonight.
I think I won one, didn't I? I did win one, but
Yes,
I couldn't do anything.
Right. All right.
Okay. So you won the SRS roll.
So
You're
you'll
on
be
defense.
So you're going to read this off of the Baltimore defensive chart,
Correct, because that's the way the SRS went.
and that's going nowhere.
15? Oh, did you roll
No,
it?
46. You're blue.
Okay. But no, but we're rolling off of your dice.
Okay, so 15.
Because that's how we do the two player. So
Right.
you rolled a 15.
Mm-hmm.
That means Baltimore allowed a touchdown.
Ah.
Okay. So Baltimore allowed a touchdown. You go to Baltimore's chart under defense TD allowed. How did they allow it?
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Because, so you would roll dice, and I will look at the Baltimore chart, and I will tell you.
All right, we got that up on the screen.
Now you're rolling your dice because this is all your rolls because you won the SRS.
51. So it was a
pass.
touchdown pass.
Right. So I go to the Detroit chart, and I can tell you I want the quarterback to be Goff. He has to be by default.
Yeah.
So Ron, if you would roll dice, I will tell you who caught the pass.
31 for Detroit.
31. That is Sam Laporta, the tight end.
All right, and we have to roll for the extra point.
Yes, as long as it is between 11 and 63, it's good.
53.
It's just good.
All right, so Laporta.
And I do put in the positions in case you were wondering. And if you're playing with teams from the 50s, you're going to see all kinds of LH, which is like the left halfback. There are going to be some crazy positions in the 50s, but I figured that would just kind of enhance the game to know. And sometimes you get like a safety who happened to be on offense, or a defensive end, or an offensive tackle. So. All right, so that was now it is 14-10.
Yep.
And Detroit has kicked off to Baltimore. Baltimore's possession, and Baltimore wins the SRS roll. 11. Oh boy, that's hit you upside the head with a baseball bat. Touchdown.
All right.
So Baltimore scored. They came storming right back. So we will look at Baltimore's chart.
That's going to be a passing touchdown.
Okay.
55.
55 is a passing touchdown. Now you just want Lamar Jackson to be the only quarterback, right?
Right.
Okay. So now you can just roll who caught it. What
53.
did you get? 53 is Nelson Aguilar, wide receiver. And what was that? The extra point you just
Yeah, extra
rolled?
point's good.
And the extra point's good.
He'll make me learn how to spell. Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
Agholo. He was a
A G
receiver.
H A G
A little bit
H.
higher, it would have been Odell Beckham Jr.
Ah, H
But
O
you didn't
L
roll
O
that.
R. High scoring game.
Yeah, it is. They're trying to be competitive now.
Yeah,
Okay, so we are with
Detroit gets
Detroit,
it.
right? So Baltimore's kicked off to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, no, I don't win this roll. You've got the SRS advantage.
Right.
So Baltimore wins the roll. So because Detroit's on offense, Baltimore looks at their defensive chart and you roll to see what happened.
44.
That's a punt. Detroit wasn't able to do anything. They had to punt.
Right. Baltimore ball.
Baltimore ball because Detroit has punted to them.
And
No, it's
Detroit wins
Detroit.
the roll.
Okay, so Baltimore has the ball. So we're reading off Detroit wins. The Detroit's defense is performing better. So we're going to roll off the Detroit's defensive chart.
36.
That is another forced punt.
Okay.
Baltimore wasn't able to do anything. No field goal range. They punted.
And Detroit cannot allow a punt. It doesn't matter anyway. So.
Right.
All right.
I've only had that happen once, and I had it happen the other day. I was playing the 84 Niners and the 04 Patriots, and the 84 Niners had everything line up, and they returned a punt for a touchdown against New England, which they needed because New England was beating them. I never finished the game, so I don't know the outcome. All right, so we are at – I just never had a chance.
So what happens here in a tie? Because Baltimore has the SRS. They both rolled a 42.
Then if it's a tie with the SRS, you re-roll. And you re-roll until someone is determined to be the doing
right.
better, which
So
is
you're gonna,
Baltimore.
which is Baltimore. Sorry, Detroit.
That's okay. So Detroit is on offense.
Right.
Okay. And you rolled a
44 on Baltimore.
that's a punt. So now both teams are stalling. So here's the last possession of the first half. Detroit punts to Baltimore.
Detroit gets the roll.
They do. So Detroit's defense is controlling this drive. We'll roll the dice for Detroit at 33.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Detroit's defense holds. So that's the end of the half. So at the end of the half, what have we got? 21-10.
21-10.
Baltimore up 21-10. Does this feel believable?
Yeah. I lost the mouse and someone's got a question for you.
That's okay.
There we go. All right. Here's the halftime show.
Okay.
I'll let you answer that.
Do I usually assign fullbacks in pro strategy football since no back I've seen is labeled fullback anymore? What do you mean no one's labeled fullback anymore? I mean, are you talking about with this game? Okay. Yes. If they were a fullback, so if you were to run Larry Zonka, he's listed as a fullback. So I went off of Pro Football Reference. So whatever they were listed as, I put them in.
Okay.
And there's one guy from Miami who's listed as a tight end / quarterback. So with him passing and receiving, I actually put in TE / QB. So it's whatever was listed on
Okay.
Pro Football Reference. I mean,
Sounds
it could be
good.
a defense. It could be a defensive tackle. I put down DT because that's what he was. All right, third quarter.
Third quarter.
So Detroit's kicking off to Baltimore because of deferring.
Detroit wins
Detroit.
again.
Oh, big time. So Detroit defense is controlling this drive. A 65 that you roll for
65.
Detroit.
Yep.
Okay. That's an interception. 65 is an interception. Detroit now has the ball. If it were 66, it's an interception. With the rare play possibility, it's returned for a
Okay,
touchdown,
so
but that's not the
60,
case here.
65 is a straight pick then.
It's just a straight pick. There's nothing on the chart. It's in the rule that you roll a 65, it's a straight pick. Okay.
Okay.
So Detroit has the ball now.
And Baltimore wins because that.
Baltimore wins because of the SRS advantage. They're close on these dice roll, but because Baltimore's defense is better than Detroit's offense, they get the nod.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to read off of Baltimore's defense.
Yep.
44. Again, they forced a punt. It's a good way to start for Detroit. If they had answered with a touchdown,
Yeah.
a whole new
After,
ball game.
after the interception, sure.
Yeah. So now they have to punt to Baltimore. Oh, Baltimore, even without the SRS. So Baltimore's controlling this drive. They're on offense. We'll read off their chart.
Oh,
that's a hammer home touchdown.
Touchdown.
So since it was Baltimore's offense that scored, we go off of Baltimore's chart.
Okay.
How did they score? Was it a run or pass? So it's offensive.
They scored on a run.
Okay. Then you just roll for who scored the touchdown.
Yep. It's Lamar Jackson again.
He's got 2 rushing touchdowns, which is believable.
And the extra point is good.
Okay. So Baltimore is beating up on poor Detroit.
And so 10. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So Baltimore's kicking off now to Detroit. Detroit will have the ball. Oh, Detroit's in control big time.
Big time.
So the top dice is Detroit. They will roll off their offensive chart, and we'll see what they get. 43, and they stalled out. They got a punt.
All right, Baltimore
will get the ball after a punt from Detroit.
Ooh.
Oh, that's Detroit.
Nice.
So we roll for Detroit's offensive chart. A 12. Oh, wow. Detroit, Detroit was in control off their defense.
Right.
Yeah, well, not very well because they let the Baltimore score a touchdown again.
All right. So 21 is going to be a rushing touchdown.
And watch it be Lamar Jackson again.
Lamar Jackson. Anything with a 4 is Lamar Jackson. I don't even have to look at the chart for that.
Yeah. If you can't see the chart, well, I'll even tell you. Gus Edwards had the most touchdowns, so he's half, 11 to 36. He's literally half the touchdowns. Lamar Jackson is just behind him, with everybody else kind of trailing off with a couple here, a couple there.
He's got, okay.
Yeah. Now, Lamar Jackson, it's not surprising. So
it's good.
Extra point is good. What is it now? 35 to 10?
35 to 10.
We should have picked a different game, different matchup.
I didn't think it'd be this bad.
I didn't either. Okay, so Detroit's going to get the ball off a kickoff.
And the funny thing is, Detroit's actually controlled a lot of the action too.
It's all dice rolls, just like in real life. All right, so Baltimore controls. This. Yeah, so we're going to go off of Baltimore's defense.
Yeah.
They force a punt. So at the end of 3, what is it, 28-10?
35-10.
35-10. Okay.
The Orange Bowl crowd fell asleep at the half.
I don't think Baltimore can win this game the way the game's built. Yeah, I mean Detroit. Okay. So Baltimore is going to receive the ball out from a punt. And it's Baltimore possession.
Ooh,
Detroit wins the roll.
Yep.
So we'll go off Detroit's chart.
26.
26 on defense. Wow. Just outside field goal range. If it was a 25 or lower, it's a field goal or a touchdown. But they just barely held on, and they forced Baltimore to punt.
Detroit.
Okay. Detroit's receiving the ball from a punt.
And so Baltimore gets it with the SRS.
Yes. With a tie, the SRS is the tiebreaker. Baltimore is on defense. So we'll see what their defense again does against the offense of Detroit.
33.
33. It's another forced punt. This is basically just a matter of,
Turn out the lights.
yeah,
Party's over.
basically. So Detroit has to punt to Baltimore. Baltimore was about to have the next possession.
Can Jackson get a fourth touchdown?
We'll see.
No. Now 62.
Baltimore wins that SRS roll. So now
No,
you're rolling. That was the
that.
SRS,
Oh, it
wasn't it?
was?
Yeah, I
No, I
think
thought that.
so.
Okay. 34.
No, they have to punt. They were just outside of field goal range. Unless I was wrong, what I said wrong. I don't remember you rolling, but I'm not. All right, so Detroit is going to receive the ball as a punt. Things are stalling out for both teams. Oh, look at that. That's a tie.
That's
And if
another
that
tie.
and if that 5 was a 6, and we had 4 sixes showing,
Oh, that would have been a safety.
that
Yeah.
would have been a safety. Baltimore would have tackled Detroit in the end zone, and it's 2 points. But SRS goes to
Baltimore.
Baltimore. They rolled a 34, and they're on defense. They forced
Mm-hmm.
a punt. So now we're in garbage time. So here
Baltimore's
comes
last
Baltimore on
possession.
offense. Baltimore. Let's see. Maybe Lamar Jackson will get his 53. No,
Nope.
no, they punt. So Detroit's last possession. There's no point in onside kicks or going for it. Those are other rules.
They do get the roll, though.
They got the roll. Let's see if they can score one in garbage time. No. Time runs out. End of the game. That's your final. So on our little replay, if Baltimore were to have played Detroit in the Super Bowl, Baltimore
35 to 10.
would have ran over them 35-10. And that's it. Once you understand the rules, the game takes 15,
Yeah,
maybe
it doesn't
20
take
minutes.
very long at all.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
So, and you get all the scores, and Lamar Jackson would be your digital dice MVP with 3 rushing touchdowns.
3 and a passing touchdown.
And he threw for 1.
Yeah, he threw for 1. Yeah.
So, you guys got any questions that are watching before we go? Just that easy. And where can we find it all?
Well, I do have a web page. I can give you the link later. But to make things simple, if anyone's familiar with drive-through cards, drivethroughcards.com. Normally there are, you're paying to download a game and to purchase a game. I have everything listed for free. So the basic version is called Family Football, and that just had the colored areas on the bottom of the screen. You saw you're not rolling
Right.
you're not rolling to see who scored. There aren't rare plays. It's just straight up football, and you get everything from 1950 to this past season. And actually, we have the 2023 college, all 133 teams for
wow.
last year's college season. But the only way to play college with the rules, I'm afraid, is you have to do the basic game. It's not going to be on Plus because there's Pro Football Reference. There's also a College Football Reference, but they don't have SRS ratings for offensive and defensive squads. So there was some other reason I couldn't do it. I can't remember, but the player names and scoring, it's incomplete. So I didn't want to build it and have completely it has to be the basic. But the Family Football Plus, I've divided into decades, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s, and then I have individual seasons 2020 through 2023. I will release updated seasons when the regular season's over and once college is done before the playoffs. That's when I can start building them again. And if you have the basic version of Family Football, it does come with instructions on how to build your own.
Hmm.
teams. So if you wanted to go back in the past, or you wanted to do your own high school or something like that, the rules of how to do it with the dice rolls and how to make the charts, they're there for you. So I give you the
Nice.
ability just to do your own thing. Um, the day is going to come where I'm not going to do this anymore. If somebody really wanted to continue it for themselves, fine. I just figured I'd throw that
Super.
in.
Any thoughts of any other sports?
Uh, I'd like to do baseball, but I'm not sure how to construct it.
Okay.
And family football plus, if you combine everything, this has taken me just under a year to design
Hmm.
all this. Family football took me several months, and then there was a pause, and I said, let me see about doing real names and stuff like that. And then once I started, I'm like, I might as well just go for it.
Yeah.
And so, God, I did 19, and I could do the 40s, 30s. I've actually looked at the architecture. I could go back to 1920
Oh, they
and
have the
make it
SRS even for that.
SRSs, and they don't have great information, but they actually have who scored and punt returns, interception returns, fumble returns for touchdowns, which is part of the game. I could actually do it, but the thing is, I posted this on Facebook. Those teams in the 40s, 30s, and 20s, their SRSs are going to be so high because they hardly played any games, comparatively speaking.
Right.
That is an example. The Akron Pros from 1920 have an SRS rating roughly equivalent to the 2007 Patriots, who went undefeated in the regular season. And this is Ironman football, where they had like 13, 14 guys on the team.
Right.
So that team could compete and probably, to be honest with you, beat the Patriots and beat them handily, because their average points for versus points allowed, they scored between 12 and 13 points a game, and they allowed 0.6 points on their defense. So
0.6.
it was like 0.6. So it would be realistic if you were playing teams from 1920. Of course, that would be
What
realistic.
did they do? A safety?
Almost no one scored against them.
Right. Apparently
A
not.
lot of shutouts, and then somebody got a field goal and a touchdown. It was like 0 point. It was like ridiculously low, completely unrealistic. They would destroy the unbeaten New England Patriots with the architecture I've built. And I saw that with the 40s. I'm like, these are going to be artificially high. And then when I'm looking at the
Right.
30s, and I saw 1920 a CFR back, I'm like, I could do it, but it would be so unbelievable. You're going to tell me 11 guys on offense playing, and then also trying playing a defense, are going to blow out the New England Patriots from 2007,
11 drunken Akron professional football players
destroy the New England Patriots.
destroy the
It's just,
2007 New England
I mean,
Patriots.
that's like beyond unbelievable.
That's an
Um,
that's an ID Jester rant that would take 4 hours.
well, that's why I question whether I do it. I mean, if you restrict everything to 1920, it's going to be accurate,
Right.
but it just, I don't know
Or
if
the
there's an
letters you'd
audience,
get, man. The letters you'd get.
but I don't know if there'd be an audience too. I don't want to put out
Right.
all this effort and two people download it.
Be curious to do that, because I mean, Action PC I think has all the seasons going back. I know Second and 10 goes back to 30.
They go back. I know what, and I looked at what they did. They go back as far as they can for the uh, structure that they designed the game off of, from what I can
Hmm.
see, because it's individual statistic based and team based.
Right.
And once there's like, was it 32? And then you go 31, and a lot of that is gone. And they couldn't really, because there are no numbers. They couldn't make those teams. I can, because the only numbers I'm going off of actual numbers, but I'm only going off of very specific things, like the whole Lamar Jackson thing.
Hmm.
I took the whole team of Baltimore, everybody that scored. It's not who ran the ball. You
It's who
have to be
scored.
somebody who scored at least once. So those are all the people that scored at least one rushing touchdown, and the dice rolls are based on the percentage that they actually did it. So That's how it can work because all you're doing is spitting out, okay, who scored. So I can make it work in that, but for a game like that, you can't unless you've got a different alternate source of numbers. And I don't know if they even exist. So
I mean,
I,
remember,
th-
I mean,
I, th-
pro football before the war, I mean, was so far behind college football in
oh
popularity
yeah,
that yeah, I mean, people would find it hard to believe now. But yeah, that's tough. I mean, it'd be kind of cool because this is, I know for the Giants, it's their centennial season,
hmm
um, which is my team, and they released the top 10 Giants of all time today. I think I saw,
oh really? I have to look
or the
that up. Don't
top
spoil it for me.
100s, and
Oh, okay,
care to guess who's number one?
Taylor,
Yeah, yeah. It's Eli
almost a
was
no-brainer.
Eli was seventh.
Where was Sims?
This is a family channel. We don't talk about Phil Sims.
I don't know why. What am
Even
I
as a
missing?
kid, I didn't really like Phil Sims. I don't know. He wasn't in the top 10. Eli was the top quarterback. Taylor was number one. I think Frank Gifford was third. Harry Carson's in the top 10.
I'm trying to think. Not Connor, the quarterback from the '50s.
Connerly?
Yeah, Connerly.
No.
No. Bavaro?
Not in the top 10. I'd have to look it up.
Really?
Yeah.
He's one of the better tight ends I ever saw.
Yeah.
He was not the best, but he's up there. I'm kind of surprised. I remember him dragging players with him.
He might have to take the two that got. I was surprised that Eli was in the top 10.
I have mixed feelings on that. I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can explain it.
I mean, there's two Super Bowls that are not trophies that are not New England because of Eli Manning.
Which that's probably why.
Yeah.
And I will be honest with you. And I'm a Steeler fan, and everyone talks about how great they make, and it is. But I think the Eli Manning escape from a sack, throw, and the helmet catch all happening in one play
Yeah.
is maybe the greatest feat ever done on a football field because it shouldn't have happened
Right. No, none of
twice.
that should have happened.
Twice it shouldn't have happened, and it still did. And when I saw that, I looked at my wife. I'm like, they're destined. This is destiny. And I was thinking the same thing with the Seahawks when they played the Patriots, and they had that he did what catch, and I'm surprised at the end, and I'm surprised Al Michaels did not say he did what, like from 2000.
Right.
And then I'm like, they're destined, and they just did not give the ball to beast mode. It defies all
Yeah.
logic.
To this day, I don't understand why you don't run it.
And,
But
and the amazing thing is, Chris Collinsworth is immediately going, I don't understand it. I don't understand this call. Why did they do that? I mean, all I would have said if I were the coach, we're just giving it to him. We got 4 shots.
yeah.
We're gonna get in one of them.
Yeah. You got a guy that caused a literal earthquake when he scored in a wild card game against New Orleans.
And I was screaming when I saw. I didn't have, I wasn't rooting for anybody, but I was actually shouting and screaming in the house when I saw that play. And my wife came running downstairs, thought something was wrong. She said, what, the kids, you're disturbing. I'm like, I just think I saw maybe the best run ever.
Yeah.
And I said, you have to watch this replay because he was down and he got through and he pushed a guy away from him and kept going. I mean, that topped the Marcus Allen run, in my opinion, as the best. For a playoff game. Now, you're talking Super Bowl, obviously, it's different. But for a playoff game, that topped Marcus Allen. How do you do that? He did it.
He certainly did. When the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004, my wife is literally walking in the door from work because she works second shift.
Okay.
And I'm where I am now, and I'm just jumping up and down. They have finally won the World Series. And she looked at me and asked if I was having a heart attack. No, the Red Sox just
Wow.
won the World Series, but you know,
My father's a huge Red Sox fan, and here's a weird fact. His mother was born in 1918.
oh,
She passed away in 2004. So she was born the year that they won it, 1918, and she passed away the year they won it. So between her whole life, they didn't win it. So his mother was born the year they won it and then passed away the year they won it. I mean, and he's a Red Sox fan, but his little brother's a Yankees fan. So I'm sure that they were, but, um, yeah, when they won it, um, I'm sure it was such a I remember in 97. No, it was no, yeah, 97. They won the Yankees won the World Series in 96.
yeah.
In 97, I went to a Yankees Red Sox game in Fenway, and I told the story to my dad. It's true. Um, the Red Sox fans were saying, "Let's go Red Sox," right? And they were doing the chant. And there were a lot of Yankees fans in the stadium, and the Yankees fans started chanting 1918. And this is in Boston, Fenway, and the Red Sox fans shut up. I didn't care who. I just want to see a game, and I'm sitting there flipping amazed that they're letting it happen in their house. And I mentioned it to my dad, and he said, "I believe it. There's been so much pain forever. What are you going to say? How many World Series have they won between 1918 and now? They were the defending champions." So my dad even understood it. He said, "I wouldn't have said anything either. What can you
Tomorrow
say?"
is 9/4. It's September 4th.
Okay.
And if you remember, when the Red Sox started retiring numbers, they didn't sort them like they do today. Of course, they've got a lot of numbers up on that wall now. But it was Ted Williams, Joe Cronin, Bobby Doerr, and then Yaz. And so the first four were 9-4-1-8. Now, because of the war and the flu, the season was over by Labor Day, and that was the World Series. And the Red Sox won that World Series on September 4th, 1918, 9-4-1-8.
Oh, wow. What are the flipping odds?
Yeah,
Wow.
just some of the amazing things that kind of comes out of sports. And so they finally realized it and then changed the order to 1-4, in appointment order 1-4-9-8. But for a few years, now those were the four, and it was the last World Series win 9-4-18, 1-8.
Wow.
All
I
righty.
love stories like this.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be born the year they won the World Series and to die the next time they won the
That was
World
my
Series.
grandmother, God rest her soul. I mean, she didn't have an interest in baseball, but it was just, what are the odds of something? And my dad's a huge Red Sox fan.
My dad was born in November of 49. Okay. It's nothing to do
Okay.
with the Red Sox.
Okay.
Vin Scully started his career with the Dodgers in 1950.
Okay.
Vinny retired in October of 16. Did
Hmm.
that last week, end up in San Francisco, didn't do the playoffs. My dad died the first week of November of
Mm.
16. He never was alive for a game that Vin Scully wasn't a member of the Dodger organization.
Wow. Wow.
He was a Reds and then converted into a Red Sox fan in '86. But I mean, to think of how long that career was. I mean, my dad was
Right.
almost 67, but there was never, he was never alive for a time that Scully wasn't a member of the Dodgers.
Wasn't calling. Wow.
So is this for OnlyFans too? No, we're not
Do you
going
want it
there.
to be Dave?
Yeah, how
What are you
much you
saying,
contributing?
Dave?
We did the body painting part earlier.
Dave, since you're here, Ron and I were saying this. Can I pitch the idea to him, Ron, that we're talking
Sure, go
about?
right ahead.
Um, an idea for you next year at Canton. If let's say Al Wilson does Fast Drive football tournament again, why don't you coordinate with him tell him I want to stream the tournament and work out a plan so that you can do streams of blocks of playoffs. And however you play it, one player, two player, someone rolls, whatever. Dave, you call the game live, play by play. And we'll say at 8 o'clock we'll do bracket 1, at noon we'll do bracket 2, something like that. Coordinate with Al and be sure it's realistic and all that. But if you did that, Dave, oh my goodness, yeah, I think you'd have a hit. You'd have all kinds of people tuning in. I mean, that's great advertising for Fast Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And Al's there and he can answer questions while everything's going on.
He's at work, so he really can't hear what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. All
So,
right.
but he said it. He said it was at. But I think he did get that, and he'll ask me about it tomorrow. So
Just talk to Uncle Ron. I think that would be a hit, and to have you call it. Are you kidding me?
it'd
That'd
be
be
great.
great.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God, it'd be so entertaining. Why? So we can constantly touchdown.
Chris, touchdown. Get yelled at. All righty, folks. Any other questions before we wrap this up?
I just want to thank you, Ron. Thanks for
Oh, no
hosting
problem.
this. It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
And hey, folks, it's free. Free is hard to turn out, even if it's a terrible game. I hope it's not terrible for
It's
you.
not a terrible game.
But I mean, huh?
Unless you're a Lion fan, then you're not going to like it. But
Well, you won't like that outcome, Lions fans. But hey, if you're a Lions fan, you got a legitimate shot this year.
yes, you do.
You have a legitimate. There's a joke from one of those YouTubers, and he did like reactions of all fans for all their teams, all 32 teams.
Was that urinating tree?
It wasn't U Tree. It was one of the guys. He's a Packers fan. I blanked out his name. He's great too, but he was doing fan reactions, and one of them was like the Lions fan going, "Hey, we can win it all this year," and he's like looking around, and he's like, "Nobody laughed at that." Because Dallas Cowboys, this will be all year, and people like Steelers were like, "Here we go again with another 9-win season, and we're going to back into the playoffs, and we're going to get destroyed by whoever we play in the wild card round."
The memes I saw running around today were various pictures of Russell Wilson over his career, and the last one was for the 24 Steelers, and it's Tiger Woods' mugshot.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that he was saying it was like the sports troll posted that. I think it was.
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, we'll find out. I saw the preseason game against Buffalo, and the offensive line didn't exist for Pittsburgh against Buffalo. And Wilson was like, I had a friend text me, "How's he doing? How's Russell doing?" I said, "I don't know. Can't answer. He can't do anything." He threw one pass to Freiermuth that was respectable, but that was it. And then Justin Fields came in, and what was it? U-Tree called him Cordell Stewart 2 or Cordell Stewart 2.0. He actually wasn't bad. The fans were cheering for him, and so was I. But I mean, Wilson, it's hard to tell because he didn't have anybody protecting him. He was just getting completely obliterated as soon as the ball was snapped. He's running for his life. Fields was better at running for his life. I mean, he's also, younger and probably a little more agile. But Russell Wilson went to high school where I live in Richmond, up the street from where I live at Collegiate High School.
Oh, wow.
Right up the street is Collegiate High School. He went to high school there. He does not apparently acknowledge Collegiate because I guess he didn't have the greatest of time there. And I think the school wanted him to acknowledge it, and he just like ignores them. I don't know the story. It's just what I heard. But yeah, he went to high school literally right up the street from where I live.
Wow.
And he's a Steeler. He's a Steeler, and he's training at the college I went to, St. Vincent. That's their training camp. So what are the odds of all of that? This guy's been following me.
Get your restraining order paperwork in now, right?
No, he'll probably hear it the other way around. Who's this?
That's right. Yeah.
All right, Uncle Ron. I
All
appreciate
right. Well, thanks
everything.
very much for being on. And again, the final score: the Ravens 35, the Lions 10. And
Sorry
so
for a dull one, folks.
that's what happens. All right, baseball tomorrow, and so we'll see you then. Thanks, Mike in the truck, for being with us, and
Thank you.
we'll catch you tomorrow at lunch. Have a good night, everybody.